Hello and welcome to the Star Award Show brought to you by the Bob Mwiti Foundation. For some students, their future feels like a continuation of what they have always known. But for others, it becomes something they must fight to redefine. Today we meet Dan Muthomi, a Form 4 student at Meru School from Kibilaku Village, Kiegoi location, Kiegoi and Tobosio Ward in Igembe South, Meru County. Dan was raised in a home where stability has not always been guaranteed. His mother works tirelessly in tea farms and casual labor to provide for the family. Dan continues to push forward, determined to write his own story. Today, we follow his journey, a story of resilience, sacrifice, and the courage to choose a different path. Come with me. Our journey takes us through the bustling heart of Maua town and into the rolling slopes of the Nyambene Hills. As we leave the busy town, the roads narrow, the air becomes cooler, and endless stretches of tea farms spread across the hillsides. We make our way into Kibilaku Village in Kiegoi location of Kiegoi and Tobosio Ward, Igembe South constituency, Meru County. At first glance, this is a place that appears blessed. The tea fields are healthy, the land is productive, and the landscape suggests stability and opportunity. But appearances often conceal realities. Eventually, we arrive at a homestead marked by a single unfinished structure carrying visible signs of years of struggle and interrupted plans. It is the kind of home that speaks before anyone inside says a word. And within this home lives a family whose story has been shaped by sacrifice, uncertainty, and an unwavering commitment to education, despite circumstances that have repeatedly threatened to stand in the way. For many years, this household has revolved around one central mission: keeping children in school. It has not been an easy task.
We have walked a long journey together with my wife since we started this family. We have faced many challenges because we did not have money.
Dan Muthomi is the youngest of 4 children.
Dan is our son and the last born.
Before him came siblings whose educational journeys demanded every resource the family could gather.
We have really gone through many challenges because of our children's education.
The firstborn never made it to university because there simply was not enough money to support him.
He tries his best to support us with the little he earns.
The second child progressed through high school with sponsorship support.
He worked very hard and God intervened. He received sponsorship from the area MP, John Paul, after scoring 362 marks in KCPE.
And is now pursuing electrical engineering at the Technical University of Mombasa.
Electrical engineering, Mombasa.
The third child fought her own battles through secondary school and is now pursuing software engineering at Murang'a University.
The third born, a girl, passed her KCPE and joined St. Mary's Girls. We pushed her through high school by harvesting tea until she completed her studies.
She applied and was able to go and do software engineering in Murang'a.
For Dan, we had no other option because we had already taken loans for the previous children. We had to lease out the tea farm we used to harvest so that he could join Form 1.
At the center of that effort stood his mother.
You can imagine that she had the freedom to go home and never come back because she had her own family. But she chose hers. She decided that let me suffer because she knew that there was something in us.
We get nothing from my husband. I take care of him the same way I take care of the children. If I fail to provide, this family will not eat. They all depend on me.
Day after day, she moved from one tea farm to another, harvesting tea and taking whatever casual jobs became available.
I have raised these children through casual labor and the small income I used to earn from our tea harvest. Since we leased out the tea farm, I now move around looking for work in other people's tea farms.
Paswa kibarua.
She goes to someone's farm, maybe they are picking tea leaves today, and she just asks for a job and she's given.
When the children were in primary school, life was very difficult. My wife and I would travel long distances looking for casual jobs. I worked on construction sites and other places. If I earned 200 shillings, we would combine it with whatever my wife earned so that we could buy food.
Some days brought work, other days brought nothing at all.
The jobs are not always available, but we still depend on them because you have to keep moving from one place to another asking for work.
But also, that job is not a permanent job. It is not that the whole week she will be getting somewhere for the 6 days.
Yet, regardless of what the day offered, the responsibilities waiting at home remained unchanged.
What
little income came from the family's tea farm was never enough.
I used to earn a little money from our tea harvest, but because my husband struggled with alcoholism, he would take part of the money and spend it on alcohol. When he was sober, we would combine whatever little we had and use it to pay school fees.
And even that was often complicated by challenges within the household itself.
He has struggled with alcoholism for a long time, but despite that, he has always supported the idea of educating his children.
Gradually, survival became less about comfort and more about endurance.
I endure all these challenges because I want my children to get an education. God blessed me with bright children who love learning.
For Dan, growing up meant learning to navigate uncertainty early. At home, stability was not always guaranteed, and much of the responsibility fell on his mother, who worked tirelessly to provide through casual labor in tea farms and other jobs. In such an environment, daily life required resilience, and education often had to continue alongside emotional and financial strain. These experiences did not just shape his circumstances, they shaped his mindset.
Dan suffered a lot because of living with an alcoholic father. I had built a small house here, but it was demolished and the materials were sold to buy alcohol.
Like many children, he looked forward to school.
I started first going to school when I was a bit like 4 to 5 years. I went to Kibilaku primary school where you passed when you were coming. I studied there from the baby class. I did nursery. And then I went to Kegui Primary School. Sometimes you are doing well and then in the middle of an exam you are like, the student who didn't pay for their exams should go home and come with the fees, of which I never went back to school that day.
But unlike many of his classmates, education was constantly competing with realities beyond his control.
So I never had somewhere to sleep and I had to tell my grandma to accommodate me. She was a very good woman.
To this day, Muthomi still lives at his grandparents' home.
There were days when lunchtime arrived and there was nothing waiting at home.
At school we used to carry lunch, okay? But sometimes my mother would go and get very little from what she was paid after picking tea leaves, and the food was only enough for the evening.
Sometimes he went without lunch and would even go to school without breakfast because I had fled from home during the night.
Sometimes all he could do was drink water and return to class.
Lunchtime, I never, most of the time when the food was not enough, I would just go outside because we are allowed to go to eat at home. I come home, still find my mother is not there, she has gone to pick tea leaves. So I just, maybe you take a cup of water, you go back.
There were moments when even small amounts of money became major obstacles.
Even though during the primary school, you don't pay that much amount of money, I can tell you, maybe for a year we were paying like 6,000 or 7,000. But it was like a mountain to my family. Sometimes I saw her cry. I saw my own mother cry, not because someone had beaten her or anything, just because the burden was too much for her. And that is, she gives us some hope she's the reason that we are always kicking and pushing on with life.
Instead of sitting in class, he would find himself accompanying his mother to the tea farms, helping her harvest tea so that together they could raise enough money to settle the balance and return to school.
If it is possible, I go to where she is picking tea leaves at people's farm and support her. Maybe I would add some 2 to 3 kgs. What I got, we used to save. So at that time, I was able to pay, like we paid half of it. After paying half of it.
While financial struggles shaped much of Dan's childhood, within the family, alcoholism had begun creating instability that extended far beyond finances.
Alcohol is what brought many problems into my adult life. I dropped out of school, and from that point, life became very difficult.
Arguments became common.
I have raised this family through many difficulties because, with an alcoholic husband who also smoked bang, it became impossible to reason with him due to the constant conflicts.
Some nights ended with his mother being forced to leave the house for her own safety. There were moments when Dan would return from school and find that she had spent the night away after being chased from home.
Sometimes Dan would come home and find that I had fled during the night.
Daddy would just go where he goes, come back drunk, and he's disturbing everyone, those dramas, and my mother has to flee.
The instability reached beyond conflict. Structures around the homestead gradually disappeared.
When he was drunk, he would demolish things we had built, including toilets and the kitchen. He would also take whatever I had left to support the children. I had even built a small house for the boys, but whenever he chased me away, he would destroy it, sell the materials, and spend the money on alcohol.
Eventually, Dan moved to his grandmother's home. The grandparent became one of the people who quietly helped sustain his educational journey.
Supported us greatly. Even when Dan could not find me at home, he would get food from his grandparents and other family members there.
As Dan approached the end of primary school, he understood what was at stake.
So I started class 8 with all those problems, but I just told myself, let me give it a try, because I am doing well. It means if I push on KCP, I will do well.
When the results were finally released, he scored very high.
It was a big deal for me, because out of all those problems that I had passed through, getting 388 was not something small for me.
It was a moment that should have been purely joyful. Instead, it introduced a new problem.
My brother called us and he told us, you have a letter from Meru School. It was a mixture of both joy and sadness. Like, I was happy that I have been called to a national school, but it was like near to impossible. Definitely, I knew that I would go to this nearby secondary school. I was a grown-up, but sometimes I used to cry. Sometimes I used to cry because I knew, like, it is impossible.
In January. At the end of January, I came up with the idea of leasing out our tea farm, and I told his father that this was what we would do so that Muthomi could join Form 1 school.
Joining Meru School was a major milestone, but it came with a cost. With limited resources, Dan's family was forced to sell this portion of their land to make his education possible. Over time, continued sacrifices have been necessary just to keep him in school. Each term represents more than academic progress. It reflects the weight of what has already been given. And with the current fee balance still standing, the risk of interruption remains close.
After going to term 2 now, my sister started applying for the university. She needs also money for the university.
In May 2023, we went back to the same person and leased out more tea.
When Muthomi passed his KCPE and the other children were joining university and also needed support, we sold a portion of our land and used the remaining money to buy Muthomi's fees so that he could join Meru School.
Eventually, even that money ran out.
It was like going through hell, getting out of school, and you know that you will come back to school. There are like 3 topics that they have already covered, you haven't covered, and you need to write the notes, do the work that you had been given, catch up with them,
na mwangira
That money has now been exhausted.
thiri.
I honestly had no hope that he would report back for the second term. I knew that even if he returned, he would eventually be sent home because I had nowhere else to get money from. I cannot even take loans anymore because I already have debts in the bank.
For Dan, joining Meru School became a turning point.
Opportunities, and it gives me a chance of continuing because I know there is a future in Meru School.
Despite these challenges, Dan has continued to stand out. At school, he has taken on leadership roles, built confidence through public speaking, and actively participates in academic and co-curricular activities. But beyond achievement, what defines him is his perspective, the belief that his background does not determine his future. With a clear vision of becoming a doctor and giving back to his community, he continues to move forward with purpose, determined to build a life beyond the limitations he has known.
It helped me sharpen my leadership skills and my communication skills, and also, being a leader gives you the chance, like you are near the teachers.
Hello and welcome to the Star Award Show, brought to you by the Bob Mwiti Foundation.
I am a news anchor, like I am like that journalist in school in the journalism club. It gives me a chance for exposure and also for opportunities.
Throughout his journey, Dan has learned lessons from both struggle and observation.
It is what gave me the urge and the anger to continue, like to have that, to be better. I will never want my children to go the same situation that I underwent, or any other child.
I told the other children that we will not sell the remaining piece of land because it is where we live, and they also need a place they can call home. If they cannot get money, they can defer their studies. As for Muthomi, once he finishes Form 4, he may have to look for work as long as he has completed his secondary education.
Form 4.
Amid years of sacrifice, uncertainty, and difficult decisions, the family eventually learned about the Bob Mwiti Foundation.
It was earlier this year, we were called to the multipurpose as Form 4s. A person introduced themselves, okay, and they said that we are here on behalf of the Bob Mwiti Foundation. They told us they have what we call Star Award. The Star Award, where they are awarding students who are needy but very bright with 20,000 so that they can be aided in their school. So that is where I came to discover them. So they told us they had left some brochures at the Dean of Studies office. So the following day, I went early in the morning to the teacher. So the teacher gave me some and told me, go and try your luck. Things might work out. And I was dead sure things would work out no matter what. So
Dan applied and shared his story.
I went to their offices the following day, and I met someone by the name Justin. Mr. Justin is the one who told me on all the process that I had to follow. So I went home, sat down, prepared myself, and wrote an essay.
The Bob Mwiti Foundation is rooted in lived experience shaped by the journey of its chairman.
I grew up in a very humble family, raised primarily by my grandparents. In primary school, I worked very hard and was fortunate to become one of the top students in Meru County. That performance earned me admission to one of the most prestigious schools in the country, Nairobi School.
Honorable Kinoti Gatobu, former Bori MP, was among the distinguished guests during the official launch of Bob Mwiti Foundation.
So I knew Bob through Nkobo High School. Nkobo High School really molded us. It changed our lives forever. Bob, I've never known Nkobo High School was not your school of choice. It was a product of circumstances. Because even for me, Nkobo High School was not my choice. My dream school since I was a small boy was Tarehe Boys. But many years later, when I look back, one of the best things that happened in my life was going to Nkobo High School.
Bob Mwiti and Honorable Gatobu first came to know each other through their former high school, Nkobo High School, a connection that has remained strong over the years.
The principal invited us to form Nkobo High School Old Boys Association, and he picked me to be the patron. That's when now I came to meet Bob, and we became great friends. And he was very committed to the cause.
During the event, Honorable Gatobu praised Bob Mwiti for consistently being at the forefront of empowering dreams and creating opportunities for young people through education and mentorship.
And Bob never misses. Sometimes he takes a flight from US to come and mentor the boys of Mkobwa School. That tells you how committed, how loving he is. Even last year, July, we were with him again in Mkobwa School, mentoring the young boys, supporting them. And really Bob, saa ingine sisi tukiwa Kenya tuna miss the mentorship day, but Bob akiwa wapi, hata akiwa Pluto, atachukua rocket akuje.
He also expressed his appreciation for seeing a vision that began as a personal dream finally come to fruition through the establishment of the Bob Mwiti Foundation, an initiative now dedicated to supporting and uplifting vulnerable students and communities.
I'm very happy to learn that Bob has earned this dream for a long time. This is a great thought. This is a great commitment. As the disciples of Bob, tujiulize tukiwa tunatembea na Bob kwa hii safari ya kuguza maisha in our own small ways, how can we touch our families, our neighbors, all the people near and even far from us.
As part of a mission to give back to the community.
About 8 years ago, I began quietly supporting top students from my local primary school, Gikumene, and my alma mater, Mkobo High School. As the years went by, I realized there was a need to create a more structured and scalable way to help many more students. That vision led to the creation of the Bob Mwiti Foundation.
Through its flagship Star Award, the foundation seeks to empower brilliant and financially needy students through high school education.
Through the Star Award, we support outstanding high school students across Meru County. Every week, the foundation awards Kenya shillings 20,000 to one student from each administrative ward within Meru County.
When the call finally came confirming that he had been selected for the Star Award, it brought relief to a family that had exhausted nearly everything.
You can imagine the kind of joy that I felt that I know this 20,000 is coming. Now that I have the school fee balance, and I'm hearing that I'm getting this award, is like a godsend before I went back to school, because definitely I would come back.
I was very happy when I received the news. I praised God and asked him to bless Bob Mwiti even more.
They are grateful to Bob Mwiti and the entire Bob Mwiti Foundation.
I just tell him that I am not going to let him down, and he is going not to regret what he has done to me, because he has brought light to my life. That spark I want it to continue lighting. Continue the good job that you are doing, Mr. Bob Mwiti. Thank you a lot.
I pray that God continues to bless him and keep him kind. May God expand his boundaries and open more doors for him.
May God bless Mwiti and continue expanding his work for helping vulnerable children like this.
You can support this family and help ease their burden through this M-Pesa number. Your kindness is truly appreciated. Through the Bob Mwiti Foundation, you have an opportunity to nurture education and support determined students. Your contributions go directly toward easing the burden of school fees, helping ensure that these students are able to remain in school. Dan Muthomi's journey reminds us that while circumstances may shape the beginning of a story, they do not have to define its ending. Despite financial hardship, family challenges, and repeated sacrifices, he has remained focused on his education and committed to building a different future. Through the Star Award, the Bob Mwiti Foundation continues to support students like Dan, helping to ease the burden of school fees and create the stability needed for consistent learning. This has been the Star Award Show, brought to you by the Bob Mwiti Foundation. Thank you for watching.